Welcome to the Cashflow Project podcast. Are you looking to better your financial situation by increasing your cash flow? Too busy to hunt for real estate deals or don't know where to start? Then you're in the right spot. Join us as we dive in and talk about investing for cash flow using multifamily real estate.
Welcome to the Cashflow Project podcast. I'm your host, Steve Fierros, back for another exciting episode this week. So I'm today excited. I've got Alan Franks on the show. So Alan, he's the founder of Business Planning Institute and the author of Empowered Money. He's also a certified financial planner who provides holistic financial planning services nationwide. So we were even joking and talking off screen. He's got some clients out here in Hawaii. So if you're local, maybe you'll get a chance to meet him at one day at one of our meetups. But unlike other many financial advisors who are prioritize just trying to sell products and whatnot, he really takes a client-centered approach, helping individuals and families define their lifestyle goals and then reverse engineering, right? A tailored financial plan to help achieve them. It's cost-effective, tax-advantaged strategies is what they're going to be focusing on. And that really helps to empower clients to realize their dreams as quickly and efficiently as possible. So he's going to talk to us today about business planning, his own personal experience through investing, because he's also a real estate investor, and then really give us some key insights to take away and really help to set us up for success. But Alan, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me today, Steve. Excited to be on.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I really appreciate you jumping on and taking time for me and the listeners. I know we're going to find a ton of value in the podcast. And also too, guys, if you guys make sure you're sharing this episode, and we're going to make sure we support Alan as well through his endeavors. We'll put some links in the show notes here a little bit later on so you guys can reach out to him as well. And also just want to put up front, guys, none of this is financial advice. Again, only for entertainment purposes. So consult with your own legal and tax professionals before you kind of take action on a bunch of this stuff. Although we do want you to take action, but we want you to do it in a proper way. But yeah, so Alan, for those of our listeners that may not be familiar with you, may not have heard of you, run into you up there in Atlanta, give us a little bit of your backstory. How'd you get involved into finance and financial planning and investing and all that good stuff? You're a pretty young guy, so I'd love to hear a little bit of your backstory.
You got it, man. I'm young, but I am not green here. I am doing this for 15 years now. So I graduated May 15th, 2010 in the midst of an economic depression right after the financial crisis. Yeah. And I went and I applied for 50 jobs thinking I'd be jet setting for some hotshot consulting company or something like that. And it turns out I had two opportunities. One was to go teach elementary school in the Mississippi Delta with Teach for America, or take a commission-only sales job with an insurance brokerage. So not knowing what in the heck I was doing at 22, I took the commission-only sales job and learned a lot about life in general. When you're eating a shit sandwich, I hope I can say that on here, for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and you're getting stood up and spat on, and your friends won't return your phone calls, you learn a lot about yourself. And the most important thing I learned is what I did not want to be when I grew up. So I kind of took that, got married, moved to Atlanta, and started the exact opposite firm of what I had left, which is where we are today, which is very holistic, helping people with their entire assets there, which includes real estate. Most financial advisors do not talk about real estate, right? Because they can't make money on it, right? But it's such a critical point. But realistically, I wouldn't be doing it justice if I didn't go back in time real quickly and say that my dad brought me into every single meeting he had with his professionals, his insurance people, his investment people. He brought me in and allowed me to join one of his Robert Kiyosaki study groups. We played the game Cashflow, the board game Cashflow, as a family, as a kid, right? And so when he went and he bought 6 rental homes without any cash down, sign of the times, right? I was able to go to that closing and look at the mounds of paperwork there. And I just remember how much paperwork there was and how much he had to sign there. But we were able to actually later on roll those rentals into a mountain house that our family, 1031 into a mountain house that our family goes to all the time. And really, they're able to rent out when they're not using it. And so I've been able to see real estate make dreams come true firsthand. And so I'm very passionate about how it fits into an overall comprehensive financial plan.
No, yeah. And thanks for actually saying that, because this is true. I have these conversations a lot. We get a lot of financial planners and advisors and whatnot that will come out to our different meetups and whatnot. And always the challenge is, of course, hey, you really can't monetize it. And so most financial planners do not talk about real estate at all, to your exact point, because, hey, there's no life insurance policy that's going to go along with that. They're not making money. They're not making commissions. They're not licensed agents, that kind of stuff. There's really no way for a financial planner to monetize let's say real estate. So I do appreciate that. And I do appreciate your take on like, hey, a holistic approach, because it really does have a place in people's overall financial planning and wealth, and it really should. So just hard assets in general. But again, if you can't monetize it, I get it from a business perspective. So I really do appreciate that about you and your own personal experience too. So yeah, thank you so much for that. And also too, kudos to dad. Oh my goodness, like a big focus for me personally, and what we really hope to provide to you as a listener and to those of you tuning in is to help you build generational wealth. Well, guess what? If you didn't come from it, hey, that's our personal responsibility to make sure that we are passing that on. Like we're going to pass on something. And so that's either going to be a mindset of lack and lack of resources, lack of knowledge, or you can be able to pass on, hey, ideally some assets, but if nothing else, the mindset that it's possible. And so that sounds like that really set you up, Alan, for success, just seeing that firsthand. So kudos to that. Oh my goodness.
I can't tell you how lucky I am. I can't tell you how lucky I've been. Now, to be clear, I've worked my butt off to get where I'm at. And I feel like sometimes I've done it the hardest way possible. But to be able to see somebody create multi-generational wealth in one generation, which was my dad's dad was not wealthy, right? My dad, had lived in a trailer at one point before, right? And built himself up to owning multiple businesses and multiple real estate endeavors, right? And so to be able to see that and for him to include me in on these conversations here, right? It's such a leadership example of what we need to be doing with our children, right? And so I want to encourage everybody on this podcast, buy the book Entrusted and read it, right? Because what it does is it tells this very good story of how passing down wealth is a very new thing. For hundreds of thousands of years, humans' legacy that they passed down were in the stories that they shared and the lessons that they learned. And we cannot forget that. We got to get back to there, right? Because what I am in such an awesome position to do is learn from people's successes and their failures, right? And one of the things that we need to do as parents is share those with our kids. And guess what? They'll learn more from your failures than your successes, right? Teach your failures to your kids so that they don't make the same mistakes. And guys, if you're not failing, you're not trying. You're doing something wrong there, right? Everybody's failing constantly. I'm even making mistakes, even though I'm in this industry, right? We got to pass on our failures and those lessons learned. Otherwise, if we're just passing down assets or passing down money and they're not ready to get those, it can really burn them. It can really hurt them the same way that winning the lottery can. Yes. If they're investing, could be $250,000, or if they're inheriting $250,000, million, 10 million, doesn't matter. If they're not ready for that, they didn't earn that money, right? So if they're not ready for that, then they're not going to know what to do with it, right? And we want to get them in the mindset, hey, you're getting this. I want my ceiling to be my kid's floor, right? Yes. I'm working my tail off to create Nepo babies, right? And when my sister-in-law talks about Nepo babies, because she's into acting and she's like, oh, the Nepo baby got that job. I was like, so I worked really hard to create a Nepo baby, right? I want my kids' floor to be my ceiling right there, right? I want them to learn from everything that I've done right and a lot of stuff that I've done wrong here so that when they inherit my money, they can go multiply it many times over.
Oh, 100%. We're in total alignment. Again, I have these conversations just as I'm sure you do, where really and truly like, hey, you know what? Again, I didn't come from money either. And so like, I didn't come from a background of longstanding success through our lineage. And so it's like, okay, well, how do we set up my kids? Because I want to create something better for them. And again, talking about failing forward, oh my goodness, like that is, for all of our listeners, you guys know that is a consistent theme to a lot of our prior guests. It's like, hey, you know what? The ones that are the most successful are the ones that are failing, and they're failing forward, right? Like if you guys haven't checked out that book, John Maxwell, excellent book on failure. It's going to happen. Exactly to Alan's point. If you're not failing, that means that you're not trying. Failure should be a badge of honor, because that means that you are actually stepping forward in faith, whether that be in business, whether they be investing. And again, I'm not saying that not everything you try is going to happen. It's not going to win, right? But you can still win by taking away from lessons that you pick up from the failures and learn from us too. We're glad to share the things that we've done wrong over the years. Hey, I made that mistake. I'm not going to do that again. Like, oh, that timing was bad, but that's okay. I can still pick away gem. I can still mine a gem and take it away and apply it forward. And then especially too, if you're able to pass that on to your kids, all the better. So you're winning on multiple fronts, even though you didn't quote unquote win, right? So no, I love that. We're in a total alignment on that, Alan. So thank you for sharing that. I really appreciate that. Now, I know you work with a lot of kind of younger families and whatnot too, like on the financial planning side. So So I love that we're even having this conversation, especially talking about like generational wealth, and you got kids going on too. So tell me how you do that, right? Obviously, I know you've got your book, so we'll love to dive into your book too. But yeah, tell us a little bit about how you are able to help families and set up their financial
Yeah.
planning.
Absolutely. So I looked around probably about 5, 6 years ago, and I realized that there were a lot of millennials that had been, kicked on, shat on, all that stuff because they were the term millennial, right? And what I realized though is that millennials had a different perspective than a lot of other generations, in that they kind of knew that their backs were a little bit against the wall. It could have been like I did, entering into a really bad job market, which then kind of started them at a lower salary that they then got raises on. That's going to cost them probably millions over their lifetime, right? It could have been that they're entering into a housing market that was just absolutely chaotic, right? It could have been student loans that they entered into. And I realized nobody likes to cry poor. And we have this huge problem with cause and effect in our culture, is that something bad happens to somebody, we believe it's because they did something to deserve it, right? The truth is that in 2008, when I should have been buying homes in Detroit, I was a junior in college, right? It could be that simple, right?
Right.
So what we found though is that the mental approach that millennials were taking were, hey, okay, we're a little bit behind. Let's make up for it, right? Let's get after this thing, right? And they just had a different mindset here of, hey, we're going to work hard to overcome these rather than be a victim of the circumstances, right? And so what we were also finding is that they were earning really good incomes here, particularly in this new industry of tech sales that I say new. This was newer 5, 6 years ago, making really good money. So all of a sudden, high income earners were a bit more democratized in two ways. Number one, there was more ways to make an higher income. And number two, the gender gap really had closed. I think in our lifetime, we might live to see where women are earning more than men. And why? Because they're more talented than we are. They can multitask better, right? They're more organized than we are, right? I'm actually really concerned right now of the plight of young men right now. It's not good. It is not good. It is a problem. We all need to address it, because it is something that we're all we will be affected by. But what we're able to see is that dual income households were making really good income, doing the right things, planning long term, and we were able to make to build a really good business off of there. Now, that's not the only people we work with, right? Obviously, most financial advisors won't even talk to you unless you got $250,000, and frankly aren't interested unless you have $1 million. So our strength is we don't have a minimum. We're willing to talk to anybody, right? But in general, frankly, what happened is millennials ended up having kids. Kids cause daycare. Daycare causes lack of money. Inflation happens. Daycare gets more expensive. Food gets more expensive. Housing gets more expensive, right? And next thing you know, a lot of our clients that are in that millennial generation are what we would call in the thick of it financially, of really being in an expensive time frame. So as a business, we actually had to go up market. So we really started focusing in on business owners. There's just a lot more that we could do to help business owners there, but still, core to our belief system is we do not have minimums. We're willing to help people who are still in growth mode, whereas most financial advisors are more in the preservation mode of wealth management. We like to help people accelerate their wealth building.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And again, that's kind of a win-win too, right? Because then that can still help to service your clients who are on the come up, right? Like focusing on business, both again, from a wealthy perspective, awesome. Hey, you need some financial planning, estate planning, or whatever, just directional, let's say on that side, you do have the assets. So, okay, cool. Like we're going to help you guide you through that process. But then also too, like that's a benefit to the younger entrepreneurs, the younger families that are starting up, right? Because you guys emphasize helping them through business, right? And I know that's a strong point of emphasis for you guys, right? On the business side, helping them to find maybe sources of capital or develop sources of capital and help them out on that end. Kind of dive in a little bit there, just double click a little bit on kind of what that looks like on the business side.
Right. So one thing I will say this is that we still, like I said, we still take on baby boomer clients. We got a ton of them, right? But what we kind of did that was different. Financial advisors say, hey, everybody's going after these baby boomers retiring with 2, 3, 4, $5 million. What if we were to go after the person that's only got 2, 3, 4, 500, but one day is going to have 5, 6, 7, 8 million, right? And that's kind of, we almost treat our book of business as if it was a retirement account that we were adding into that's going to compound the growth here, right? Now, let's talk about business and business. I believe there's 3 ways to create wealth in America. There's tons of ways, but 3 main ways. Number 1, the easiest thing to do is if you're a W-2 employee, click that little box, put money into your 401k, and they're going to match that 401k. And if all you do, if you have 2 W-2 income earners that max out their 401ks, you are probably going to be okay, right? It's not the ideal. There's some tax ramifications there that we got to be aware of. It's not ideal, but if that's all you did is max out your 401k, you are probably going to create some really good wealth in there. Okay. Now, obviously, that's 24 grand a year. So it's hard to get there. If all you did was to match at your company, you'll at least have some wealth. But in general, that is the easiest way to build wealth, right? Because when you're buying a stock, you are buying a share of a company that is being run by a really good entrepreneur, right? That went to a top business school that's surrounded by really smart people. It's going to work really hard to grow the value of that company, which is going to grow the value of your portfolio, right? So I know it's easy on real estate. One of the things, I want to take one step back. One of the things that bothers me about today's world and this Instagrammable reel of what we live in, this algorithm that we live in, is we get in these bubbles, right? And I call it the real estate bros, the crypto hoes, and the stock junkies, okay? And you tend to get really good at one thing, and all next thing, every nail is dealt with a real estate hammer, right? Or every problem is solved with a Bitcoin, right? Or every single situation is the reason we need to go buy another stock or something right there, right? And so all of a sudden we get into this algorithm and that's all we see. And the truth is that if you were doing real estate, crypto, or investment over the last 5 years, guess what? You won. You won just by doing one of those, right? So I'm not going to tell you that the crypto people lost, right? Because they didn't, right? Or the real estate's bad because it's not. What I will tell you is this. I have zero clue what's going to win going forward. Everyone has won the last 5 years. In general, most everyone has won the last 5 years, right? I am pretty confident that's probably not going to happen the next 5 years because history, we tend to revert to our mean, right? So what I like to talk about is a balanced approach to wealth building. So we just mentioned stocks being the easiest way. Number 2, I would say, is real estate. Simply owning the home that you live in is going to force you to save money. It's going to force you to pay down that mortgage. It's going to force you to build equity, even though home ownership, your primary home, is probably the single worst investment that you have. It at least is something, right? And it's going to help you build net worth that way. If we want to get a little fancier, we can borrow against that home and go do things like syndicates and other real estate that help that grow quicker, right? And then the third way here is starting and selling a business, right? And when we start and sell a business, in my opinion, that's the best way to build wealth in America. It's also the hardest way. When I say best, I would say that's going to be the biggest bang for the buck, right? That's when you can really create multi-generational wealth, but it's also really hard to do, right? And honestly, the perks of owning your own business have gone down in recent years. Why? Because there's a lot more flexibility to be in a W-2. Right? We're not chained to our desk from 9 to 5 anymore like we used to. If you have a doctor's appointment, you go. If you got to pick up your kids in the carpool line, you go and you do work later on, right? A lot more flexibility in our W-2 jobs, right? Also, if you're your own business, guess what you got to do? You got to go out there and you got to get these insurances, got to get health insurance, things like that. And that's gotten a little bit more expensive, right? So why do you go start your own business? For 2 reasons. Number 1, there's amazing tax benefits to starting your own business. And number 2, you start a business to sell the business. If you are not doing that, if you're not doing both of those, there's no reason to go start your own business. Go get a nice cush job. Unplug at 5 o'clock. Don't give a crap about it till 9. I wish I could do that. I'm a business owner, and what I sacrifice more than anything is not my time, right? It's my presence. Because when I go home at 5 o'clock today, I want to be with my daughter from 5 o'clock to 7:30 when she goes to bed. And I want to fight like hell to not think about the problems in my business and worry about what could be. And that is a daily fight for me. Right? That sometimes I'm better at than others. But in general, when you're a business owner, it's playing whack-a-mole with a bunch of fires, right? So if you do not have a good, clear exit strategy of wanting to exit and sell your business, don't do it. Go work for somebody.
That's good. That's actually really, really good advice. It's like, okay, hey, start with the end in mind, right? It's like, okay, well, don't just go start, hey, I'm going to start this lemonade stand. No, okay, well, we'll start the lemonade stand with the intention of like, all right, well, I'm going to exit to Coke one day. So how can we develop this product that turns into, okay, we're going to take a stand. We're going to refine our product so that we can eventually bottle it, so that we can eventually market it. We can eventually get it into local stores. And you're starting with the end in mind, right? So
That's
yeah,
right.
no, I love that. And that will help keep you focused too, when it does get hard and you are dealing with those challenges. Because Alan's 100% correct. And all of our entrepreneurs that are listening in, all our business owners listening in can attest to, like, yep, I can't tell you how many times I've been on my couch falling asleep working on my laptop because I'm still dealing with issues from the day and the next day and the following week. So
That's
yeah,
right, man. That's right.
all
And
right.
I love the lemonade stand example here, right? So if you're going to start a lemonade stand, rather than focusing on doing more, I would focus in on doing better until you have the best damn lemonade in the city, right? The best damn lemonade in the city at the lowest cost possible with your efficiencies are really running well. Now that we have that, now that we focus in on doing better, now we can focus in on doing more. And now we need to get on each corner of the city. And when that happens, all of a sudden we're going to start getting some private equity interest when we have multiple locations here, right? And now all of a sudden we went from a mom and pop multiple of 2 to 3x to a private equity multiple of 6 to 8, right? And so that is how we grow our businesses. That's how we want to be thinking about scalability here, is that if we are going to stay in the mom and pop conundrum here of 2 to 3, it's just going to be really hard, right? You're going to sacrifice a ton of your life. And I don't know if that reward is going to be worth it. I don't know. Hey, lemonade, I don't know if that juice is going to be worth the squeeze, right? But if we're thinking about, okay, now that we know we're really good, how do we scale? How do we get the next location, the next location, the next location? And then once we get up to a certain mass, a critical mass, now all of a sudden we're going to get private equity offers on the table. And that is life-changing money.
Yeah, no, for sure. And again, I know we kind of went down the tangent there, guys, with the business, but it really is key, because it doesn't matter what business it is that you're going into. Hey, you want to eventually there's going to be a one day that you're like, yeah, I'm good. Like, I don't want to actually have to still be working in the business or even maybe working on the business. So think about
Yeah.
what that could look like down the road. I get that. Hey, a lot of us are passionate about what we do. Awesome. We want to create value. But at a certain point, you're going to want to play with the grandkids. You're going to want to take time away and spend the quality time that, hey, our families actually do deserve. And I've seen a lot of entrepreneurs burn the candles at both ends, and they just get wiped out. And so, yeah, you do, to Alan's point, you got definitely have to want to plan further than just, okay, what are we doing this week? What are we doing this month?
Yeah.
So,
But I would say, listen, a real estate business is still business. I realize it may not have any
yep.
employees. Maybe you do have employees, right?
Mhm.
The inventory is not traditional inventory, right? But my wife and I own 6 rental homes, right? And we manage them ourselves. And we are constantly thinking, how do we increase our efficiency here? This is such a pain in the butt. How do we get better at this? How do we predict these problems before they happen? Because it's so reactionary on, hey, this TV doesn't have a remote, right? How we put it on the checklist. Does each TV have a remote? Things like that are burdensome. But even a real estate business is a business. And what we're trying to do with our business is become financially and personally independent from that business, right? As a business owner, just like if I had a W-2 job, I want to be able to one day walk away, right? And not even have to sell and be able to be financially independent, right? Luckily, I am going to sell. It's going to be icing on a really good cake there. But more importantly than financially, I'm trying to get personally independent from my business so that I can go to Italy for 90 days and not have a dumpster fire when I come back, right? That is the test, the Italy test. And if you can pass the Italy test, guess what? Other people are going to want to buy your business. Why? People don't want to buy a job. They want to buy a business, right? And if you can do 90 days in Italy and your business still operates and functions well, people are going to want to buy that.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. And guys, I know you may or may not appreciate kind of all the things that Alan's talking about. You're not going to honestly hear this from the vast majority of financial planners, just FYI. And I'm not a client of Alan's. I don't have any, you can attest to that. Like, I'm not a client of his, but boy, that should be your first question. If you start working with that's always kind of my litmus test. It's like, hey, if I'm going to talk to anybody about a specific investment or any of that kind of stuff, hey, do you do that personally?
Yes.
Right? Like,
Yes.
are you taking your own advice, right? You're selling me real estate? Hey, are you an investor? Like, are you practicing what you preach? And so,
Yeah.
no, I definitely appreciate that, Alan.
I want to fill everybody in on a little dirty secret here, right? If you're interviewing a financial planner and you ask to see their financial plan, right? It's a litmus test. It's a litmus test here because I want to fill you in on something. Being a financial advisor, guys, it's freaking hard, right? It is a lot. There's sales, and then we got to do financial planning. We got to do marketing. We got to manage people, right? It's a business. It's a business, right? And then I've got to constantly be managing how much do I reinvest in the business? How much do I save personally, right? It's a constant challenge here. So if you were to ask a financial advisor, hey, can I see your financial plan? I think you'd be really surprised at their reaction. And if they did show it to you, I think you'd be really surprised at how maybe bad it is, right? And so one of the things I like to do, I like to show people my financial plans. Like, hey, we got these 6 rental loans. We got these syndicates going on over here. We got this hard money lending going on over here. I've got this business I'm building right here, right? We got these 401ks going on here. And the reason I like to show it is because I want my financial plan to be an absolute poster child of this is a balanced way to build wealth in a very risk diversified way, right? Because once again, I am battling the real estate bros, the crypto hoes, and the stock junkies and saying, hey, I get it. You're right. Can I just share with you that there's more than one way to peel this banana here? And let's maybe do it multiple ways here just to diversify something.
Yeah, no, I love that. I love that. I might have to, well, that I already know the title of our episode here when we put it out, which is hilarious. Now I know you have developed some tools that you have like for business owners, right? Like what are some things that you have some giveaways, you have some takeaways that you can point, our listeners to. Yep. On the business side.
The number one business question I want to ask a business owner is, what do you think the value of your company is? And how'd you come up with that? And guess what? Most of the time they have no damn clue. Why? They see their business as almost an annuity, an income stream, a lifestyle vehicle, right? It gives them prestige. It gives them something to do, right? And it gives them income to live, right? What I want the business owner to be thinking about, though, is not just that part, but seeing their business as an asset that will play into their overall comprehensive financial plan, right? And so we formed the Business Planning Institute. So if you go to thebusinessplanninginstitute.com, way entirely too long, but it's spelled exactly as it should, right? On there, you are going to see that we have a free complimentary valuation software where it's going to ask you about 20 questions there. And at the end of that 20 questions, you're going to get 2 numbers. One is the current value of your business. Okay. This would typically be a $20,000 valuation here, and you're getting it for absolutely free. We've done studies on this. It's within 5% of what an actual qualified valuation would be, right? Number one is, what is your business currently valued at based off the answers you gave? Number 2 is what it could be valued at, right? And that right there is the value gap. Right. So we've got to say, when we're doing financial planning, that we all live 2 lives, the life we're currently living and that unlived life within. And between there's a really good comprehensive financial plan. Our business owners run 2 businesses, the business they're currently running and that unrun business within. Right. And we want to help them bridge that gap there from where they currently are running it to a well-oiled machine there. Because guess what? If we can get there, not only do we just increase the value of the company, but it's going to run more efficiently, more profit's going to come in, right? The revenue is going to grow. And next thing you know, what we're trying to do with our business owners, we're trying to 10X in 10 years. I mean, if you got $1 million business, we want that sucker to be $10 million in 10 years. That's about a 25% CAGR there each year, right? We got to grow by 25% each year there, right? But when we're thinking about that, when we're asking those 10X kind of questions there, we get 10X answers there. So we're trying to grow our business owners that we work with. The capacity that they have as a leader is the capacity of their business, and their business is going to be constantly running up against their leadership capacity. So yes, we're looking at their marketing. Yes, we're looking at their books, their efficiencies, right? Yes, we're looking at those SOPs, but more than anything, we are growing them as leaders so that they can grow their capacity and therefore their business can follow them.
Yeah, no, that's excellent stuff right there, Alan. It really, really is. I've been very blessed. I've been around some very high level entrepreneurs, and you're speaking the language. And a lot of times, like for small business owners, you don't know what you don't know, right? And you really don't. You don't even know what kind of questions to ask. You don't know, man, I would love to get my business there, but it's like, okay, well, that's a different set of problems. You're going to run into a different set of problems, and you actually don't even know those problems that you're going to hit. That's where talking to somebody who's further down the field, who has like all right, I have an overall, like a better vantage point of what
Perspective.
this type of business, different perspective of what that could look like in 10 years. And you've seen those businesses be developed over that course of time. It's like, man, to have somebody to have that insight over into your business, incredibly, incredibly valuable. So yeah, no, I love that. I love that.
So Steve, one of the biggest things we hear from our clients is, man, I wish they taught us this stuff in school, right? Well, guess what? They didn't. And guess what? They didn't teach anybody else that either. You're on the same playing field, right? And I want to just fill you in, because I've got a lot of friends that went to Wharton and went to Harvard and all these business schools, right? Guess what? They don't know jack squat more than you do about running a business. They don't. Right? They were taught to be consultants or investment bankers, right? There is only one way to learn how to run a business. Guess what it is? Running a business. That's it. That is it, right? So guess what? I'm learning how to run my business. At the same time, I'm teaching you what I know about you running your business, right? And there's only one way to truly learn it, and that's by doing. And we're just there to help facilitate the learning and the doing. So my love language is books. I love books. That's why I wrote a book, right? Is to be able to give it away and say, hey, here's 15 years of knowledge packed into 200 pages right here, right? This is going to be, and we give them to each client, and you can get a copy if you want it at empowered-money.com. That's empowered-money.com. Or you can pay me thousands of dollars to do a financial plan. I do recommend both, but in general, the book is a really good starting point, right? But I love sending my clients books like Profit First, right? Or A Minute to Think is a great book right there, right? The Psychology of Money. These are things that I'm like, man, this person in this emotional state right now, they need this book, right? And so what I've done is basically create almost a leadership course for our business owners with these books that are kind of helping. Here's how you run a profit first business right here, right? And so just going back, what's been so fun about this journey with helping business owners is that it's helped me too. It's helped. If I cannot tell you do something if I'm not doing it myself. I just personally, that's the way I operate, right? From telling you to do an investment to telling you how to implement this in your business, I can't with a straight face tell you, hey, you need to do this without me doing it too. So the funnest thing about working with business owners has frankly just been my own leadership journey.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. That's awesome. And like I said, I do appreciate that about you. You're in the thick of it along with the clients, let's say. And I feel the same way. It's like, hey, well, I wouldn't ask you to invest into something that I wouldn't personally also do, or my money's not right there too. And so that's putting your money where your mouth is. And so, no, I love that. No, that's great. Well, Alan, this is a time in our show where we transition to something we call our fire round. It's just a little bit more rapid fire, brief Q&A. Is that something you're up for?
Absolutely. Let's go.
Awesome. And actually, the first question, you've already kind of given some of them, but what's a best book that you recommend? And again, it can be anything. It doesn't have to be finance. It could be mindset. It could be skill building, whatever. But do you have a go-to book recommendation for when people are asking you for stuff, other than the ones that you've given us already? You've given us several.
Other than Empowered Money, right? If we're going to talk about general financial planning, The Psychology of Money is a really good book. If we're going to talk about sales, then I highly recommend the book Jolt, probably the best sales book that I've read. It was by the author of The Challenger Sale, and is one of the best sales book that I've read, probably the best book I've read of the past year here. And then, hey, if you are a business owner, not a business owner, Who Not How, man. Who Not How is really going to help you accelerate your just overall performance there. So it's really driven our business acceleration there. So a lot of those Ben Hardy books are really good. So those are three that I would say are more recent. Obviously, we have the classics, The Science of Getting Rich, things like that. But those three there are ones that I've read in the past couple of years that have really transformed my business, the way I look at it.
Yeah, awesome. Great book recommendations. Yep, no doubt. All right, next question. What would you consider your superpower to be? Besides obviously being a young, successful entrepreneur with a great beard, what would you consider your superpower?
I appreciate that. I think that empathy is a superpower. I really do. And I don't think there's enough of it in this world, right? And so the empathy to take a step back and not give a cookie cutter response of this is what you should do and here's why you should do it, of actually taking a look and considering the person's background, their fears, right, their concerns, and working and keeping those into account when you're making recommendations. I believe that we live in a culture that lacks empathy, and therefore I think that empathy is a superpower and is probably one of my biggest strengths.
Yeah, that's awesome. It really is a huge superpower. That's something I pick up on too. And I can't tell you like how you're able to connect with people in that way just by putting, okay, can you just briefly put, and even if you're not built this way, which I totally get, a lot of people aren't, put yourself in the other person's shoes just for a moment. Hey, what are they feeling? What are they going through? What kind of challenges would they be experiencing? They've got young kids. Okay, what is the thought process there? Right. So like if your line of work, for sure, I could see that absolutely being a superpower. So great answer. All right, next question. Now you're a young guy, but hey, if you could go back and visit your 20-year-old self, you got a time machine, what advice would you have for 20-year-old Alan?
It's so funny. I think about that Back to the Future with Biff, where he brings his old self like a sports almanac and he makes all those bets. And part of me is just slapping myself across the face and saying, man, if I could, I'd go back and just write down 2 words, buy Bitcoin, right? Buy Bitcoin, right? And that would have been really good. But obviously, I don't think anybody really, obviously some people did. Not many people foresaw what it would be right now. So I think that's a little bit of a cheap answer. If I were to go back, I really do wish I would have bought a few more pieces of real estate a little bit earlier than I did. I waited till I was 25, and I wish I would have gotten one right out of college, or maybe even worked with somebody to get one in college that I could have lived in then. And so kind of what I'm going to do for my 20-year-old kids is I want to buy a house with them and do it 50-50, and they're going to be able to manage it, keep it rented, take care of it, right? But we're going to be able to start their real estate experience right there. I would also say this. I think I did a good job on education with like getting my CFP and things like that. But I think I could have done a better job. I think I could have just taken some night courses to get an MBA or to get a CPA, things like that. And so I would tell anybody who is graduating college is that those hours from 7 to 10 when you used to have to study in college, and now you're just kind of mindlessly watching TV, creating some sort of educational course for yourself so that you're growing during those time periods. I think it really compounds over time.
Yeah, 100%. It's that extra little bit of effort. I mean, we don't have a TV anymore. I haven't had one for probably the last 6 years. My kids, it's like, hey, they only do books. There's no other option, right? And so they love that. They don't. That's their normal, right? And so. But yeah, no, you're absolutely right though, because it's like, man, there's so much time that we have that you can just be filling in. I often think of Elon Musk, and it's like, well, this guy's running like multiple like $billion companies. Well, how do you do that? We've got the same amount of time. Like we all have the same amount of time of the day. And so it's like, well, where's your energy going? Where's your time going? What's the focus? Right. And so it's like, okay, like, hey, I may not be as smart as him, but I have the same amount of time and I can have a greater impact with the time that I do have. So yeah, no, that's really good advice. All right, then last question for the busy working professional, somebody who is trying to work towards financial freedom. What advice would you have for them? Besides picking up your book, besides scheduling a call.
Yeah. I think I plugged my book enough. Here's what I would tell. I was talking to somebody the other day. They called me. They shot me a text, say, hey, I need to talk right now. And I kind of knew what it was about. And they said, I'm about to send an email resignation, and I need you to talk me out of it. And I said, hey, I'm not going to talk you out of sending this email resignation, but I am going to ask you to press pause, and I'm going to ask you to build the parachute before you jump out of the plane. Okay. If you are a busy person and you're looking for more flexibility or freedom, right, you can build that. There's no reason you cannot build that, right? But what I would tell you is if you're looking to make a transition from corporate America into your own thing, you don't have to do it all at once, right? Stupid little things will get in your way when you're starting a business. Forming the LLC, getting your email to actually work is something that we've had trouble with our brand new business. Getting our invoice system up and running took a month, right? You can get all of these things, getting the first client and the second client, right? That you can transition out of your corporate job into this in a very easy time frame, working from 7 p.m. or 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. at night, right? You can get this all set up, right? So my thing is, hey, it's a really bad scenario when people jump out of the plane without the parachute. Build the parachute first, right? And then find the right time to jump so that you can hit your landing spot here, right? Be strategic. Take a step back, zoom out. Another great book, A Minute to Think. Zoom out. take some time to think, right? And stop acting out of urgency. We are addicted to urgency in our culture because we found out that's the only way things get done is if we're urgent about them, right? Because we spend 90% of our time scrolling on Instagram and 10% of our time doing, right? No, let's take some time to think strategically, to come out with a really good game plan here, and then execute on that game plan.
Yeah. No, that's great advice. It really, really is good. Man, there's so many gems here. I really do. I hope that you guys are appreciating the knowledge that Alan has been dropping here. And again, so much of this comes up, of course, through his own personal experience or my personal experience, but also too, like we both have the benefit, and Alan especially too, as a financial planner. Hey, guess what? It's not his own business that he's mining gems from. You don't think that he's able to pick up? Okay, if you worked with hundreds and hundreds of clients, guess what? They've had stuff that worked and didn't work. You think that he can't also mine gems from them and like, okay, well, great, man, that did not work. I know I can actually take that away and let's help out another individual who's crossing that same bridge and help them to make the right decision in that moment. And so like, it's so important just being a little bit further down the road to reach back in or to help the next person up. And so I appreciate that, Alan. Great advice. I really thank you so much for hopping on the show today. And I know, like I said, I know a lot of this is super helpful for our listeners. But now, how can our audience? I know you've dropped a couple of links, and we'll make sure we get a couple of different links in the show notes. But if our audience wants to reach out, they want to, hey man, I got to talk to Alan. I want to pick his brain about some stuff. What's the best ways for them to get in touch with you?
Yeah, absolutely. So obviously on LinkedIn, you look up Alan Franks and you can find me here in Atlanta, Georgia. If you want to get a sense of our podcast and check out our book more, empowered-money.com. It's a great way to do that. And then if you want to get a good idea of what your business is worth, the businessplanninginstitute.com is the best way to do that. And you get a good valuation right there. I love talking money, guys. Would love to chat with you. Feel free to reach out and hopefully hear from you guys soon.
Awesome. Well, Alan, thank you so much for hopping on with me today. Like I said, I've enjoyed our conversation, but I know our listeners have too, and that's always the goal. And so greatly appreciate you taking time out of your day to hop on with us and provide a ton of value. So thank you so much. And we'll look forward to catching up with you in the future. I appreciate it. Absolutely. Alan, aloha.
Thanks, Steve.
All right. Great conversation with Alan Franks over at Empowered Money. Make sure you guys are reaching out to him, connect with him. Like I said, we'll make sure we link his contact info down in the show notes. Great perspective for one as a financial advisor, financial planner, who's also an investor, right? Who's also a business owner, right? And a lot of times, too few people who actually are trying to give financial advice have any experience in those different areas. So like, I always think it's very, very impactful to have somebody who's been in the trenches, who understands what you're talking about, understands the language. They can really, really help guide you along that path. And so they definitely much more of a holistic approach than the typical financial advisor. But guys, if you're interested in connecting with us, investing with us, learning more about what we do, prior deals, how you can get involved, go to tricityequity.com to learn more. You can schedule a call with somebody on our team to connect with local like-minded investors here in Honolulu. Go join our Facebook group, Honolulu Multifamily and more. We have meetups every month. We'd love to put a face to the name, connect with you in person, and to keep you up to date with what's happening here locally. And again, just to connect with other like-minded investors and people in the space. And of course, if you're finding value in the podcast, make sure that you're sharing the episode, leave us a 5-star review, or make sure that you're hitting the like and such. That helps us to bring on more investors, industry professionals here onto the show to continue. We'll see you on the next episode. Aloha.